sore heels, and expensive parking have in common? My interview day. So I woke up with this huge sty in my left eye, to the point where I couldn't really open it, and it was far less painful to just keep it closed. This was concerning because I would be driving downtown, and when you drive downtown, you normally need both eyes to be fully safe. And so I was concerned because depth perception would be off, blind spots would be multiplied by like 1,000. I was just really concerned about that, but thankfully, by the end of the interview, or by the beginning of the interview, I was able to see out of both eyes and drive safely downtown. Sore heels was another experience of that interview day. I was borrowing heels and realized that they were not adapted to my feet. And so I was doing a tremendous amount of walking because of the parking situation. And I was realizing, man, this is kind of painful, especially towards the end of the day, walking towards the car. So I was like, Melissa, just get through this, you can do it, just sit in your car and this will all be over. And I got in my car and I went to pay for my parking ticket, and I realized that they had billed me $36 and it hadn't even been 2 hours of being in that parking lot, which is just atrocious in my little country mind. But anyways, back to the interview itself. It was with Miss Mona Diaferio, who is a senior contract manager for Hennepin County office. This occurred October 12th, 2018, and I got in touch with her through Professor Sarah Ring. That was another part of this process, was not even finding an interviewee. So Professor Ring graciously agreed to help me out with that, so I was very thankful for her. And we connected via LinkedIn. So I had 3 goals for this interview. I wanted to experience the Hennepin County's work culture. I wanted to see what downtown felt like, kind of explore the parking options and see if that would be a huge handicap to me getting a job there. I wanted to learn more about contract managing. I wanted to kind of see it through Miss Diaferio's eyes, and I wanted to understand how managing and what we learned about in class actually transferred over to the real world situation. So a few insights about my interview. Contract managing is very, very detail oriented. It's, in her own words, Miss Diaferio mentioned that most of her time was spent dotting the I's and crossing the T's, just making sure everything was impeccable order, up to snuff in the court system. Speaking of court, it was very legally verbiage heavy, and there was a lot of vocabulary that she had to learn for this job, and she mentioned that she had to learn just how to read lawyer contract writing. It was very writing heavy. She mentioned that she did not have a lot of face-to-face interaction and spent most of her time writing and conversing with people via Skyping Messenger, which I thought was really interesting. And the culture at Hennepin County was really high-paced, energetic. You could work from home, you could work from a satellite office. They had really competitive wages. I really appreciated that part. But the customers, or the people who need help from the county, are a rougher group, I would say. For example, I was in the elevator and trying to make small talk with this lady, and I asked her what she was doing there. And she responded, "Nothing, what are you doing here?" And I was really taken aback by that. So I mentioned that I was doing an interview and like trying to get some conversation going, and in fact, she didn't respond at all after that first nothing. And she even took 2 steps away from me, closer to the door, in response to my attempt at conversation. So that was just an interesting experience that I had there. But when I learned about managing as opposed to classroom managing, was that there are a lot of meetings and there was a lot of presenting. And I thought that really worked well with what we learned in class, because meetings is all about time management. You have to be really efficient with your time in class. Time in meetings, and you need to figure out what that looks like in the spaces between the meetings, and just be really efficient at that, and see what your priorities are. You would also do a lot of persuading in those meetings and presenting, just convincing people that there is a problem, that there's not a problem, that people needed to see Ms. Dioferio's perspective, and I felt that really tied in well with what we learned in class. She did a lot of presenting with her superiors and her bosses through presenting and meetings, which again, that's really transferable to what we learned in class, which I thought was really interesting. In all, even though what Ms. Dioferio's job looked like in my mind, as opposed to like what it really looked like, and in comparison to the managing we learned, there was just a lot of similarities that I was really pleasantly surprised by. So my big takeaway though is contract managing is definitely not for me. I am not detail oriented. Just ask my roommate, just ask my friends, just ask my family. That is not in my DNA. The Lord has been working with me and we're working through that, but that is just not my strength. People are just something that I really love, and contract managing is all about writing, it's all about legal writing, and that's just really not my strengths. So that was a good takeaway for me for that interview. And I realized that even though the Hennepin County's environment was a little more harsh and unwelcoming, Matthew 5:46 says, if you love those who love you, what reward will you get? Are not even the tax collectors doing that? And so I was really really struck by that, because even though the people at Hennepin County aren't considered traditionally loving and like lovable, that doesn't mean anything, in that we are still called to love them and pour into them as like workers at the Hennepin County. So I could see myself definitely working at the county environment. I love the downtown energy and excitement and people and diversity. I love that. And as I said before, contract managing is not for me, but I did really enjoy Hennepin County. And even though contract managing wasn't for me, I would say managing is still definitely something I would like to pursue, because I love being in teams, I love seeing the best in people and working through that, and leadership, and I love interacting with people. So this interview was a lot of fun. Throughout the hiccups, it was a good learning experience, and I was really thankful for that. Thank you.